Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, I love talking all things reality TV, and today we are continuing our journey through Shark Tank Season 16 with Episode 10. Our sharks for the episode are Damon, Kevin, Lori, Mark, and guest shark Kendra Scott, founder of Kendra Scott Jewelry. Our first pitch of the night is CharCharms. Charlotte walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 10% of her water bottle accessories. Here they are. She has a variety of things, from a little hook to put your keychains on, bags to put your things in, straw toppers, little bottoms for your cup, anything you could need to accessorize your water bottle.
So there's a lot of crap like this on the market.
She sells her various products online and in retail. To make the various items, it costs between $1 and $2. They wholesale between $5 and $5.40, and everything retails in Target, for example, at $11.99. And then I went on her website, and it's pretty much the same there, except for a few exceptions for like specialty things or smaller like one-off things, but for the most part, everything's about $11.99. Her first full year in business was 2022, and in that year they did $80,000 in sales. 2023, they did $250,000, and year-to-date 2024, she said they were at $6 million. Technically, that was all the POs they had on hand, not fulfilled orders, but she predicts by the end of the year, they'll be around $10 million if they keep doing what they're doing.
You're gonna make like multiple millions of dollars in profits this year.
Correct.
As is the case with so many Shark Tank products nowadays, a big factor in their success is the fact that they were able to go viral on TikTok. Along with that, they were able to get into major retailers like Dick's Sporting Goods and Target. Of course, with her having all of this success, a major question is, why are you in the tank? And she says what she's looking for is more so a shark to invest in her rather than even CharCharms, because she really believes she can bring this to $1 billion business. This is also where we find out she is doing everything 100% herself. She had just recently hired her first employee, and other than that, she hires temporary warehouse workers when they need to fulfill a really big order. Mark wants to know how she's handling dealing with millions of units of products, especially with getting stuff from overseas, and she lets us know that the factories that she's currently working with, she's been working with for years. She started out ordering small quantities from them and has just grown over time, and they help her with a lot of that stuff and have been really good for her. Along with that, of course, comes the question of how are you financing this? How has that been going? And she says luckily she was able to get an individual to help her with that. We don't really get a ton more information about that. I was kind of curious, like, who is this individual? What happened with that? But you know, whatever.
You were like, this is crap.
It is
now
crap.
You love it.
No.
Yeah,
you know what? I'll tell you something,
he's
Charlotte.
Like, show me the money.
It's my kind of crap.
After hearing all of her great numbers, Kevin decides he's interested. He wants to help her with the whole distribution side of things so she can focus on what she's really good at, like the branding and making products. So he offers her $300,000 for 25%. But he's not the only shark interested. Damon decides to make his own offer of $300,000 for 20%. He sees this as the perfect product for licensing, and that's his bread and butter, so he feels he can really help her in that avenue. Then it's time for some of the sharks to come in and clear the deck. First, we have Kendra, who talks about the fact that she's a mom, and her kids have these water bottles and lose them all the time, so this would just be another thing they would be losing, and overall, it's just not really for her, so she goes out. Then we have Lori, who says the tween market has never really been her expertise, and with that, she's out, which leaves us with Mark, and he says he's torn because he feels like the offers Kevin and Damon have made are quote-unquote insane. Mark then wants to know about her finances, saying that cash flow and money management is very important in a business like this, so he wants to know who takes care of that sort of thing, and she says that she has an accountant. Mark doesn't love this answer because he feels like she needs to be more involved with that. He's really struggling with what he wants to do because he says he wants to protect her from what he considers predatory offers from Damon and Kevin.
You in, you out. What do you want to do?
Unfortunately, Mark says he's just not the right partner for her, but warns her about making a deal with these guys.
I mean, it's easy to say, look, you go for it, and not write a check.
Our entrepreneur then gets her time to counter, saying either 25 or 20 are both too high for her. She then asks Kevin if he would consider doing the $300,000 for 12.5% and only helping her with distribution, literally nothing else. But he says that's still too low. However, he will match Damon at 20%. She then asks Damon if he would consider going down to the 12.5%, but Damon is also not budging, saying if a company just hired him outright to do what he's gonna help her with, it would be 30%. She then tries countering for 15%, saying that's the absolute highest she can go, and Damon tries to come back at her with 17.5%, but that's still not low enough, and since neither shark is willing to go down to 15%, she ends up leaving the tank without a deal. First off, this is just one of those that I don't really understand why it was in the tank. I get what she was saying about her wanting somebody to invest in her, but I really thought this would be one of those where all the sharks were like, you're doing fine on your own, you don't really need a shark to invest. But what do I know? I guess money talks, they want to get in on the money, but I really thought they all were just going to be like, you're doing fine on your own. You don't need us. We're out. That sort of thing. I can personally see kind of both aspects of either not taking the deal or deciding to take it. Because, like, on one hand, she is doing fine on her own. Again, for a reason of, like, I don't really know why she was in the tank. But on the other hand, it could make her life a lot easier and make her more money with her having to worry about less things, which I am always a really big fan of. As far as the product itself, it's not super my thing. It's similar to other pitches we've seen recently where nothing's really innovative happening, nothing new. Because I mean, like, I've seen this stuff all over Amazon, TikTok Shop, all of those sort of things. So it's just more about being like the cutesiest, best brand, which, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with, but it's just not my sort of pitch. And who knows, maybe she started this trend with the water bottle accessories. I have no idea. I don't know where that came from. One day I just saw my TikTok page. People had all these things on their water bottles, and I had no idea where it came from. So maybe she started it and all these people are copying her. I have no idea. I just know it is everywhere. And at this point, no matter what, it is just about getting your name out there, which obviously she's doing really well with her TikTok and all that. So I will admit, I do like the little bags for the cup. I think that's fun. If I was somebody who really just carried a cup around all the time for like running errands or that sort of thing, I can definitely see that. And if I had that Stanley style cup, I definitely would be interested in getting straw covers, but that's just because I don't know, the idea of the straw for the Stanley cup has always kind of weirded me out. And when I saw straw covers were a thing, I went, if I ever get one of those style cups, maybe. But at the end of the day, this isn't really for me, and that's okay. When I was like 14 to 16, though, oh, that's a different story. I think I would have been all over this at that age. And like Lori said, this is like a tween product. So it's okay if a product comes on Shark Tank and isn't for you. It might be for somebody else. That's great and wonderful and magical. And we can move on. Our second pitch of the night is Nameberry. Pamela walked into the tank looking for $350,000 for 5% of her baby name website. Here it is. They have all different lists with trending names, names by letter, names that are fairy tale names, all of that sort of thing. They have different quizzes. They'll even tell you what the different names mean. If you've ever tried to name a baby, or maybe if you play the game Sims like I do, you are probably familiar with these kinds of websites. They've been operating for 15 years, and obviously this isn't our typical Shark Tank product where there's a cost to make and a retail price, but we do get a little bit of sales. In 2023, they did $1.1 million, and they were profitable in 2023. They did $650,000 off that $1.1 million, and she says they've been profitable 10 out of the 15 years that they've been operating. We also get the breakdown of other investors. She owns 66%. She also has a tech partner who owns 28%, and 5% goes to a non-participating partner. Before we can talk about anything else, I have to talk about the very beginning of her pitch, in which she gives us the meaning of all the different sharks' names up there, and of course is giving them like these beautiful like meanings behind them, even if they don't necessarily have something. Like with Kendra's, she talks about how it originated from a male name, but now it stands out on its own as a name, symbolizing how, you know, she is her own strong, independent entrepreneur. And then we get to Damon, and she's like, Damon is a surname and it means keeper of livestock, and you have bees. And I was like, that's almost exactly how it is. It was so weird and so bad. I saw somebody on Reddit point out, like, why not be like You've shepherded your companies to success. You kept them safe in the dangers of the world, like a true leader, like of lives. I don't know. There's a way to do something there instead of just being like, and how nice, because you keep bees. So cool. It was so weird, and his was last. It was so weird. One of the first questions with a company like this is, how are you sourcing your data? And we find out she's been doing baby names for decades. She has 10 books that she's written on baby names since 1988. And because of that, she owns all her own IP. How they currently make money is from advertising, but the whole reason she's in the tank is because she wants to change their model, because now she wants to bring AI to Nameberry. Mark brings up different options she has, including selling their data to one of the large models that already exists, and she tells us what she wants to do is train their own AI model on their own data. Of course, as Mark points out, that is way more expensive than what she's asking for currently in the tank. Kevin then continues by talking about how there are players out there who will come in and provide that infrastructure and maintain it for 20 to 30% of the revenue of the company.
Kevin, when they do that, they're trying to steal from you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Of course.
Right.
Yes.
I love Kevin's response to that, just being like, yes, and? Pamela then lets us know that what she's really wanting from a shark is getting help defending her IP. Of course, this makes Kevin wonder if this is something that's really even possible, and she says she thinks it is because it's all their own IP and internal data. Our resident AI guy, Mark, once again chimes in to say what he really thinks is her best path is to just sell the data to one of the larger language models that's already out there, but it's going to take a lot of work, and that's not really something he wants to do, especially when he's the one writing a check for $350,000, and with that, he's out. Then Lori pops in quickly to tell us that this just isn't a business that she can really sink her teeth into, and because of that, she's also out. Now we're back to Kevin, who wants to get into more of the reasoning why she's valuing the company at $7 million, and she talks about the fact that, number one, they're ad-supported, they have 4 million unique visitors a month, and 20 million page views. They also have around 100,000 people on their newsletter and a 50% open rate for the newsletter. With a company like this, one of the main value points is the data you can collect, and our resident likes to sell data guy, Kevin, wants to know what data that they're collecting from customers, and he learns that at the moment they're not really taking advantage of any of that.
Okay, now I have to kill you.
Damon says he's struggling with two different things. The first is that this is a really techie company, and he's not really sure how he can add value.
And the other thing I'm struggling with is why did my mother name me after a goat herder?
And with that, he's out. Kendra is in the same boat as Damon, saying since this is such a tech-heavy company, she's not really sure how she can help, and she's also out. However, Kevin doesn't really see it as being a tech-heavy company. He sees this more as being a negotiation between the big three language models that are already out there, and he thinks that's something he can help with. So he decides to make her an offer of $350,000 for 33 1/3%. Pamela's response is to try to counter $700,000 for 15%, which of course Kevin immediately turns down.
I don't even
would
know.
love to be in business with you,
Well,
but I'm
I
not
just
going to
made-
give you 33%.
Okay, give me 40.
She says the absolute highest she can do is 24.9%. That way she can keep 50.1% and maintain control of the company. And surprisingly to me, Kevin just immediately agrees, and they end up doing the deal for $350,000 for 24.9%. Okay, so number one fun fact out of the gate that I learned during my note-taking time, she's the author behind the book Younger. If that sounds familiar to you, you might be more familiar with the TV show the book is based off that has Sutton Foster and Hilary Duff. Admittedly, I have never seen this show, but I do know about it. When that came up, I was like, that is so random. Why didn't we lead with this? No, I'm just kidding. So I went to go play around on this website. I was kind of surprised I didn't recognize it because admittedly, I have been on a bunch of these random baby name generating websites in my day. As a veteran Sims player, I love coming up with fun names that way. So I went and poked around on the website for a bit, and honestly, there were so many ads, and some of them were making the website a little unbearable. For example, I went to go try to take one of their quizzes, which I did not complete because it turned out there were just like 50 questions or something like that, and that wasn't what I was trying to sign up for right now. But while I was taking the quiz, sometimes an ad would pop up like not even on purpose, just like accidentally covering parts of the question because it was just formatted too big. And there was like extra space it could be in, but it was just like messed, and it kept happening. So if you like really were wanting to take one of these quizzes and it kept happening, like why would you? I would have given up. Like, I mean, I obviously did give up, but if I was more serious about it, I also would have given up. And then as far as the AI stuff, I mean, I hate it. Like, if it hasn't been clear enough in other of my videos, I really don't like it. Not a fan. And I just don't really even want to think about this one anymore. So we're just going to move on now. Our third pitch of the night is Rinseroo. Jake and Lisa walked into the tank looking for $343,000 for 5% of their hose attachment for tubs, showers, and faucets. Here it is. On one end, there's a rubber tube that you can slip over your shower head, tub, or faucet. And then the other end will have water come out so you can use it as a hose for cleaning the shower, washing your pet, or whatever needs you may have. Now it's time for some fun numbers. The prices range to make them from $250 to $450. They retail between $15.95 to $29.95. We also got their customer acquisition cost, which is $2.50, and they told us that they have a 10-to-1 return on their ad spend with Amazon. As far as sales go, they've been in business since March of 2019, and they told us in 2019 they did over 1 million, and in 2024 they were planning to hit 5 million. We don't really get the numbers in between. They also told us that yes, they're profitable. They said they were profitable within the first couple months of starting. It's then time for the whole, how did you come up with this? How did you start this business? Which is usually something I skip in these videos, but it is relevant today because they tell us when they first came up with the idea, they read Lori's book cover to cover to tell them exactly what to do to make this business succeed. And of course, Lori loves to hear that. A pretty standard question with a product like this is how many knockoffs are there out there? And they say there are some that pop up, but they have a really good protection service that makes sure to strike them down immediately when they pop up. And that was all Damon needs to hear. He's interested and decides to offer them the $343,000 for 20%. But that's not all, because Kevin is also interested. Side note, I feel like we've gotten a lot of Kevin versus Damon this season. Feels very random. I don't know if I'm making it up in my head, but I just feel like I've said those names against each other quite a bit this season. And Kevin says that he will do that same amount of money, $343,000 for 15%. However, they feel like they don't really want to give away that much equity. Then Damon jumps back in to say, I will also lower mine to 15%, which it's like they just said that was too much, but you know, shoot your shot, Damon. Kevin says unless they're willing to do a royalty, he can't see himself going below 15%, and they ask what he would consider to do a royalty at, and he says if they want to stay at the 5% equity, he would need a royalty of $2.50 a unit until he's paid back $1 million. Then it goes away forever. And now it's time for something that I thought had died in season 14. Unfortunately, that is not the case.
Not Say hello to my little golden friend.
Yes, my friends, Lori has brought back her golden ticket. If you are unfamiliar with this concept, good for you. And now I am so sorry that I'm going to ruin that for you. Pretty much, it is a literal physical little golden token that Lori started doing a couple years back. I don't remember exactly when. And when she presents it, she's saying that she'll give the entrepreneurs exactly what they came in offering for, and she only does it once a season. So it's a big deal. I also want to point out, this is something Lori just completely came up with. This is not like, if you have no connection to Shark Tank and you just like don't know, like literally Lori just made this up. This isn't like canon to anything. Shark Tank didn't do anything. Like Lori just came up with this one season, and yeah, that's it. That's all. And of course, who would say no to getting exactly what they asked for, especially people who obviously love Lori very much. So they end up making the deal with her for $343,000 for 5%. Starting off with the product, I actually saw this on Amazon a while back before I saw it on Shark Tank when I was also looking for a solution for bathing my dog. Ultimately, I did not get it though because the Amazon reviews weren't fantastic. They're still not super great. It seems like a lot of people have issues with them ripping or leaking or not fitting right. So I didn't get it ultimately, but funny to think I almost once again had a product and then it ended up on Shark Tank. Very funny. As far as the deal goes, after nobody got a golden ticket last year, I was just sure that Lori had decided that she wanted to move on, that she had heard everybody in the audience being like, this is so cringy, like, I get it, Lori, but I just like, it's so much. And I was like, she has moved on. She has heard us, but I was wrong. But whatever, if she likes it, I love it, whatever, good for Lori. However, if somebody was gonna get the golden ticket, it was literally made for them. Like, they are her poster children for entrepreneurship now. She can use them as like marketing her book, and she can help them with their business. Ultimately, it's a win-win for everybody involved today. Our fourth and final pitch of the night is Tabeeze. Carrie walked into the tank looking for $100,000 for 10% of her new take on the classic onesie. Here it is, and what makes hers different is the fact that it opens up completely at the shoulders with the snaps, making it easier to dress the baby bottom up. She has two main styles, the bodysuit, which is more like the traditional onesie, and then a romper, which has the longer legs, and it has a zipper instead of snaps at the bottom. The normal onesie bodysuit cost her $2.90 to make and retails for $20, and the romper cost her $4.75 and retails for $28. She's been working on the product for 7 years, but they've only been in the market for under 2. In 2023, they did $26,000 in sales, and 2024 year to date, they were at $17,000.
Okay, that's not a lot.
There is only one investor besides for her, and that is her dad. She owns 65% and he owns 35%, and together they put in $1 million of their own money. Obviously, her numbers aren't the best, and she says that's exactly why she's coming to Shark Tank. She's really good at coming up with ideas, but not as good at figuring out how to market them.
Yes, I can see that.
One of the first things they want to know is if she has a patent on this, and she lets us know that she has 3 granted design patents, and then she has 3 utility patents pending. Kendra then wants to know what she's done so far to get the sales they do have, and she says pretty much all of it has come from word of mouth or social media. Kevin says the biggest issue with the product is that he's not sure if once this is presented properly to the market, if this is something that they'd even be interested in buying, and because of that risk, he's out. Lori wants to know what happened to the original $1 million that they put in, and she lets us know that pretty much all of it went to different marketing people they tried to hire that ended up not working out.
All right, I'm out again.
Okay, great. I can't wait for you to be out a third time after I tell you this part.
She then lets us know that she's been reached out to quite a bit, letting her know that her outfits have helped a lot with NICU babies, and because of this, she's formed a deal with somebody, unclear who, I would assume a hospital, but she's formed a deal to put out 80,000 units into different NICUs.
Well, you probably should have said something about that earlier.
Lori comes in to say that this is a really niche market, and she thinks the move would be to license this out to bigger clothing companies for babies, but unfortunately, this just isn't the right kind of deal for her, and she's out. We then have Mark, who agrees with all of Lori's points and doesn't see how he can add any value, so he's also out. But we still have Damon, our resident licensing guy, and he's willing to make a deal with her where he will help her license this out to one of the bigger clothing companies, and his offer is $100,000 for 45%. Kendra then comes in to just completely clear the deck, saying she thinks what Damon is offering is great and agrees with all the other sharks that licensing is the way to go and that that's not really something she can help with, and she is also out. She then asks if she can have a minute to step into the hall and call her business partner, aka her dad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you don't call Dad.
Okay,
Dad's
don't call Dad.
Dad's got a lot of money at risk.
She steps into the hall and calls him, and it is so sweet. The minute he picks up, he's like, before you say anything, I just want you to know your mom and I are so proud of you. And it was so cute. I wanted to sob. We then cut back to the tank where Damon is sitting there like, I completely forgot her dad owned part of it, and you can tell he's kind of having a change of heart over how much equity he asked for. After finishing talking to her dad, she comes back into the tank and she says that 45% really wasn't ideal and not really the amount she wanted to give up, but if it's what she needs to do to get a deal with someone like Damon John, she's willing to do that. However, we then have Damon look over to Lori and go, Lori, tell her what I told you to go into the hallway and tell her. And Lori's like, Damon remembered that your dad owns equity too, and he realized what he should have asked for was 33 1/3.
But I'm gonna play
Therefore-
tough. Can I get 35?
What about 33 1/3?
All right.
And she ends up doing the deal with Damon for $100,000 for 33.33%. The first thing I have to talk about is I think it was so funny that Damon was gonna have Lori go tell her. I don't really know why he wasn't just gonna go tell her. And then also so funny to then like make her also say it in the tank. I just thought that whole like setup was so weird and funny. When I first saw this, I thought something like this already existed, and then I saw a bunch of people in the subreddit saying it too, but after taking some time to look around, I think what everybody, including myself, is thinking of are those onesies that do have snaps at the shoulders, but those don't open all the way up. They do like open the area more, but they don't open all the way, and I didn't see anything else really out there like that did open all the way. I was just seeing the little snaps that like make it wider. So I do think this is a new thing. I think people were just confusing it with that. If I'm wrong, definitely let me know down below. However, something that I saw on the subreddit that may be valid, I honestly don't know because I don't have a baby. I'm not well versed in the world of onesies, was people saying that most onesies are made with really stretchy necks and like slips at the shoulders that already make it really easy to dress them bottom up. Again, I don't know. I read it and I was like, yeah, I feel like I've seen a stretchy necked onesie. I don't know. However, I do think it's really cool if it's able to help with any adaptive needs for babies, or like she was saying, babies in the NICU. She also has a product that wasn't featured on the tank that's a little iron-on patch for the onesies that you can then cut into and make a spot for a port or a feeding tube. I just think it's very cool that she's doing different accessible adaptive clothing for babies. Very neat, a good market to help. I also really liked her because I feel like, especially just like with the way things are, a lot of people go into Shark Tank and super undervalue the sharks. And I mean, it is skewed both ways a lot, but a lot of people do undervalue different aspects sharks can help them with. And I really liked that she was able to be like, yeah, this is something I need help with. This is worth it to give away this much equity so I can be like winning in the long term. To quote Mark with his whole 10% of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape thing, I think it's very true. And I think it's great that she was able to recognize how much Damon will hopefully be able to help her in that journey that she wants to go on with licensing and all that. Also do want to be completely clear that sometimes the sharks do overvalue themselves. It happens both ways. But it happens both ways. Overall, I say good for her, especially if Damon can help her getting this licensed out so she can just sit back, relax, collect that sweet check from this, and work on her next big idea. That would be super great for her, and I'm hoping all the best. And that is a wrap on Shark Tank Season 16, Episode 10. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it down below. If you like Shark Tank recaps, Shark Tank product reviews, reality TV in general, check out the channel and subscribe. It's a good time over here. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you want to help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate it. As always, I want to hear your thoughts, feelings, opinions, comments, all that and more down below. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.